Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is part of the ongoing EU Code Week webinar series. Before we get started, we'll take a moment to allow more participants to join us. So thank you for your patience and see you in a minute. So I think it's 4:02. I think we can start. So hello again to all of you. My name is Anna and I'm a project assistant at All Digital, and I'm happy to be your host for this webinar once again. Before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes for you. So this webinar is being recorded and will be available later on the EU Code Week YouTube channel. If you prefer not to appear in the recording, please keep your camera off and the microphone muted. This session is designed to be interactive, so we encourage you to participate and share your thoughts. The session will run for about 45 minutes, and we will have time for a Q&A at the end. So feel free to note down any question as we go along, also directly in the chat. Now, to put this webinar into context, EU Code Week is all about fostering innovation in education, whether through events, hackathons, or inspiring real-world success stories. In this series, we aim to spark discussion and provide educators with the practical tools, methodologies, and insight to support the next generation of creators, and in this case, entrepreneurs. Today, we are diving into a fascinating topic, which is from ideas to business opportunities, empowering the next generation and supporting innovation in education with artificial intelligence. This session explore how educators, so you, can help students generate ideas and transform them into sustainable businesses, with a special focus on artificial intelligence role in shaping entrepreneurship education. And we will hear key insights from JI Europe, which is a leading organization in entrepreneurship education. And to help us explore this topic, I'm thrilled and very happy to welcome three fantastic speakers who bring unique expertise to this conversation. So, welcome to Emma Kirai, who is Senior Program Manager at JI Europe. Welcome to Joanna Andrzejewska, who is Head of Program at JI Europe. And last but not least, welcome to Morten Winther Bülow, who is a researcher, senior lecturer, and PhD fellow at Aarhus University. So, hello everyone.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
All
Hello.
thrilled to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Great. I'm really, really happy to host you today. And thank you so much for joining us, of course. So, to starting off, I'll mute myself now and I'm giving the floor to you. And I cannot wait to hear more about this session. See you later.
Hi. Hello, everyone. And once again, the big welcome from us to the webinar. We will start with a little bit of interactive activity as we want to pick on your ideas, on your feelings about AI in education as as the topic of our webinar shows. So let me just maybe quickly share a link and then my screen. So we invite you to join us on the Mentimeter. Please go to menti.com, type in the code that you see on the top of the screen. So 36115787. You have the code also in the chat. And yeah, I was hearing myself for a little while. So please join Menti. If you have any issues, let us know. But yeah, and then we wanted to know what is the first word that comes to your mind when you think about AI in education. I believe you have, you can type in 3. I can see Menti works. Wonderful. We have some people hopeful. We see the potential of AI, new opportunities, a chance for innovation. We have some tools, of course, with ChatGPT being probably the most famous one. But I can also see that there are some maybe some people who see challenges. There is also change. I'm pretty sure the AI will change the educational landscape a lot. We have also play, creativity, adaptation. Lovely. A lot of the topics that we will cover also today. And then let me share the next one. So your biggest hope for how AI could actually improve education. Biggest hope. Inclusive personalization. Wow. Personalized feedback. A lot of personalization I can see. So quite aligned in what we think. Maybe some of you would like to elaborate a little bit more. Please feel free to unmute yourself. I'm especially interested in this inclusive personalization because that seems a very interesting idea. No, I don't see the chat. So yeah. Emma, if you see some responses, I will look up to you for some help. We have, again, creativity and play boosters. We have also some answers that would suggest that you feel it will simplify your preparation for a classroom, reduce some administration tasks. Encourage critical thinking and help close the digital skills gap. All wonderful, wonderful ideas. And now let's get to a little bit less positive angle. What is your biggest fear of the impact of AI education? We have taken some liberties in suggesting a couple of these, so we would ask you to rate them a little bit. Ethical considerations lead. Yeah, impact on creativity and originality. That's a very, very interesting thing that we, on one hand, are hopeful that AI will bring new levels of creativity, but also see the risk of it being diminished, some concerns about originality. Yeah, and bias and misinformation. Now first. Yeah, data protection, not so much worrying. And I'm happy to see that the teacher role being diminished is not your biggest concern. So it also shows that you actually see AI as a possible tool that will help your work. Okay, I will ask you to not go outside of Menti. I will now move to our presentation, but then we will also have one more question to you after our presentation. And now let me share the slides. Yeah. I hope you can see the slides. Emma, yep, wonderful. So as Anna already mentioned, we will be talking a little bit about how to empower the next generation and support innovation in education with AI, and how to help students to create ideas, but also to move them into real opportunities. But before we do that, I wanted to say a couple of words about who we are and what we do. So JA Europe is a member of a global organization, Junior Achievement Worldwide, and we provide hands-on immersive learning experiences, both for children and youth. We are quite old already. We have been operating for over 100 years, and each year we reach 15 million young people. 6 of these come from Europe. But we have big ambitions. We want to reach 20 million youth per year by 2050. And at the core of our mission is that we want to equip youth with the skill set and mindset to build thriving communities. And entrepreneurship is at the core of that. But we work in under 3 core pillars, also work readiness and financial literacy. And into our program, we also look into building youth STEM skills, digital skills, and sustainability. Now, as I already mentioned, the JA DNA is the hands-on experience. And I wanted to say a little bit more today about how we deliver our entrepreneurial programs to youth. And we encourage throughout the use of AI in that experience, and we try to support both teachers and students to build their skills, to help them along the way. And the way we structure our programs is we have some shorter learning experiences which are focused on ideation, and I would fit hackathons, for example, innovation camps in that space. But we also encourage you to take their ideas further to create business plans, to create prototypes, to test them on the market. And some of the students also go through the full cycle. We call it the company program. It is our core program, which is present in over 100 countries globally in the JE network, where students also produce, package, and sell their products or their services on the market. They have a chance to test, to learn, to do better, and to earn some money along the way. They have also opportunities to then compete with other student companies on a European but also on a global level. We also support students with business volunteers who mentor the teams and help them to figure out what the best way of running their company is. And we also not only encourage youth to use AI to support, be it ideation, maybe creating some materials, marketing, but also we have dedicated programs for students to actually create AI solutions, to create AI products or services. And I am going to now give the floor to my colleague Emma, who will tell you a little bit more about how we do it.
Thanks a lot, Joanna, for bringing us into the JE world. And of course, as many other organizations and the rest of the world actually got inspired by AI, our organization and network and also our experts were also involved in this inspirational journey, actually since 2019. So I think for this learning experience, it's important to highlight that it took quite some time to also adjust all of the learnings throughout the years. So it takes quite some time, right, to design something which is meaningful, and at the same time it's also reflecting on current needs. Now, because we also wanted to put the spotlight during this webinar on creating AI tools and also creating with AI tools. So once we are talking about like how ideas are moving to businesses and what we are actually looking at in terms of entrepreneurship education, both of these angles are super important for educators and teachers. Regarding creating AI tools, we have actually the program, but you see the steps of the program on the screen, how students are actually, by taking the journey learning by doing, they are also learning basic aspects of AI, like AI ethics. And then from this solid ground, they are also moving to create AI tools. So the program itself is focusing on computer vision, and then there is also a no-code, like let's say a shorter version, shorter learning path, and then there is also coding pathway where actually students are creating and coding their own AI tools. So these are the steps which are also incorporated in the entrepreneurship learning experiences. So the program itself is really merging AI and entrepreneurship. So in that sense, also aiming to merge the technical as well as the soft skills. We are really proud of certain recognitions, and one is actually the World Economic Forum recognized the program as one of the best case study. And then throughout the implementation, we already had enough scale actually, and the program is available in 10 different countries. And we added a sector-specific challenge to the program itself. So it became an accredited course by EIT. Now, if we go to the next slide, then as an educator, as a teacher, then there is also a path which we are looking into how to create and how to support the creation with AI tools. Now, if we look at the different AI tool segmentation and how the tools are actually also affecting creativity, especially in the idea generation, then it's also looking at the two major buckets. So we can look into the AI tools as catalysts for idea generation. So in that sense, how the different AI tools can actually support brainstorming, can actually support directions for different ideas, and then also how the tools can reduce creative blocks. So in that sense, as an educator, it's also an important aspect to look into how the different tools can be used as a catalyst. Now, what is the likelihood that you are getting the same idea by using the different tools? Actually, not the likelihood is fairly low to get the exact same idea, but yet the direction can be quite generic. So in that sense that you're more or less in the same way of thinking, right? And then here it comes how the tools, the different AI tools, can be used as a collaborator, how we are actually collaborating with the different tools as a good friend. So in that sense, like having a good conversation with a friend, and of course you're listening and then you are open to all of the input, but you are rather also critical, right? You're a good friend, so your role is also being critical on what you receive. So of course the tools are creating and generating endless ideas. So you're never going to have the input that I don't know. So obviously, you always have some input. But then the originality and the human touch is needed in order to actually having more diverse output later on, but also to finalize the idea, to have the originality, to have the innovation of the idea. So for that reason, also in terms of education and then how teachers and educators are using and reflecting on these tools is also looking at the prompts, how the prompts can be engineered, how actually creative questioning can be applied, for example, for ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, because by the end of the day, and if we go to the next slide, when I was actually putting and preparing for the presentation, I really like Calvin and Hobbes, and came to my mind actually this piece, because it's basically pretty much the same. So if you have a framework and then you paint by the numbers, you will always get the same picture as it's on the box. But by in that sense that everyone has the same amazing and perfect picture with the same colors. So having all of the colors and having all of the nice framework, you can paint actually a different picture with different colors. And then if we go to the next slide, thanks, Joanna. And here it comes the role of educators. So what can be the role of educators in this idea generation processes? So actually, instead of the knowledge soul or the knowledge source of the teachers are more and more becoming a facilitator of the process in our learning experiences. And at the same time, it also creates more and more collaboration with other stakeholders, mentors, volunteers, and then how they are facilitating the process of the generated ideas. And the second aspect is like how the teachers are becoming orchestrator, in that sense that how they are also incorporating AI within their teaching. So I already mentioned prompt engineering, but specifically on the idea generation process, like how you guide students, learners on idea generation prompts specifically, but after how do you encourage students and learners to analyze the different outcomes. So the analysis prompts or the role-playing prompts, and how the different tools can be also used to validate and then to assess ideas. So these are all important roles which are actually enhancing and making the most out of the tools we have. And last but not least, it also remains the leader in terms of competence development, right? So how we are keep using the different teaching methods to actually like, let's say, the conservative creativity, or, you know, like still the human touch is encouraged from the students to actually be part of the process, the learning process we are teaching. And actually, now I think I will give the floor, because this is a nice transition to Morten's presentation, who is the super teacher from Denmark, and I'm super grateful to have you with us, Morten. So I will give the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Morten left the call accidentally. While we are waiting for Morten, I'm also looking at the crowd if there is any question so far in terms of junior achievement, learning experiences, and what you heard. I'm also...
Yes, there is a question in the chat from Ailsa about how the countries in Europe who are not delivering this program can see the resources. I assume it's AI Entre.
Okay, we'll go with your version of the slides, Emma, if you got it still. I think when I tried to share mine, I was
yeah, sure. I have it.
Kicked out.
Oh, let me...
Yeah.
And Alisa, we will come back to you with the question. Let me share.
Or you can finish the answer before I...
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Alisa, your question was how to actually, is there a way for countries in Europe who are not delivering the program to see the resources for this? Yes, there is. So in which country do you come from, Alisa? Estonia.
Ireland.
Yes.
Ireland.
Ireland, sorry. Okay. Yes, so we can share some overview, like the content overview with you. Happy to do so. So let's keep in touch. Okay. So Morten.
Yes, there's some difficulties about the technical things here, but in my presentation, I would like to explore how chatbots can serve as partners for both students and teachers in entrepreneurship education. So that's the main issue here. And I would like to stick to the first slide, please. So it's based, what I'm going to tell you is based primarily on the lessons we learned while using generative AI on an entrepreneurship initiative designed for students in our Danish upper secondary schools. And the program is called the Global Goals Program. And it's actually offered by one of your members. So first, let me give you some context. At our schools, all students, they bring their own computers, their personal computers, they have unlimited access to the internet, and they can use AI tools like Copilot and ChatGPT at the school. So, but not only that, both students and teachers are actually encouraged to use these kind of tools by the Ministry of Education. And that's a relatively new thing. And I know it's not like that everywhere. So also we are advised to include entrepreneurship and the UN Sustainable Development Goals in our teaching, no matter what subject we're actually teaching. More than 120 students, they participated in this program, helping us co-design. And actually, they were deeply involved in co-designing, testing, and improving ways to use AI bots to scaffold every step of an AI-supported entrepreneurial process I'm going to unfold for you. These pictures that you see on the screen now show some of my students. They are 17 to 18 years old. They are passionate about art, music, coding, game design, and they are not business students, and they do not have any formal background or interest in economics or marketing. So that's quite crucial in this project. So my goal was therefore to develop a framework that can be used by any teachers, that can be shared, and looking for an integrated chatbots into entrepreneurship education. So to accomplish this goal, I found that I had to answer 3 relatively complex questions before moving on. And the first one was how to equip these students with the tools that they needed to develop sustainable solutions without reducing entrepreneurship to a purely theoretical project or subject. And the second one was how to help them use AI to boost their creativity without making AI some kind of an outsourcing tool or an easy answer. And the third and final question was how we could ensure that AI enhanced their learning rather than outsourcing their thinking. In other words, I wanted to find ways to make the students use chatbots as cognitive partners and not, of course, not encouraging them to some kind of undesirable cognitive offloading. And that has been mentioned in lots of articles, this unloading problem. So the first thing I did was to explore online communities focused on AI in education, entrepreneurship, and in teaching innovation. And there were plenty of AI tools, prompts, hacks, stuff like that. Some of them already mentioned here. But I did not, to be honest with you, I did not succeed in finding an answer to this core pedagogical question of when should AI be in the hands of the teacher and when should it be in the hands of the student. It's my opinion that we often miss that point and hand AI tools to the students without considering whether or not that's actually the best way of using it. Because as a teacher, I find this distinction quite crucial. And that's why I developed a framework and a resource bank to support the planning and practical implementation of AI-based scaffolding in entrepreneurship education. And that's what I'm going to show you. So please move on to the next slide. Because I developed what I called a hybrid intelligence framework, a mix framework, so to speak, for entrepreneurship education, based on the fundamental principle that AI is used differently depending on who is engaging with it, when, and of course, for what purpose. In this framework, I distinguished between 2 roles for AI in education. First, AI as a tool for the teacher, a design assistant for designing learning activities, for example. And secondly, AI as a learning partner for students, a thinking tool, so to speak, that helps them explore, create, or refine their ideas, like it was mentioned before by Emma. And I think as teachers, we can use, or at least that was my idea, that we as teachers can use AI when we prepare our lessons. We can leverage AI for our initial investigations and iterations, for designing for the students' learning, and also for delivering or communicating the content. So in the context of this program, my role involved creating offline materials. That's what you see on the far right. Teachers use AI on the far right, offline materials. It was such as handouts, for example, and developing prompts suggesting that students could later use them in their individual or collaborative work. And this frame also provides an overview of the students' way of using AI, both when they work independently and when they collaborate. And as far as I know, that's a new take on this. And the overall learning objective is for the students to achieve these entrepreneurial skills and the mindset, and at the same time, the point where they understand a global problem and their own potential agency when it comes to finding realistic, pragmatic, and economically and ethically sustainable solutions, which is a huge task in a group of students like these. So now I'll try to explain how we used AI bots to scaffold the 3 steps in the design process that was part of this program. The first step, visualized here, aimed at students identifying and understanding a real world problem related to UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see, I began by using AI bots for search for inspiration. That's the investigation part. I used Perplexity, I used ChatGPT, and several other AI tools that could provide some inspiration and feedback. It helped me spot alternative approaches. I think that might be the most important part in that is that there was a lot of people thinking in other directions that I did. So I was assisted in spotting alternative approaches and possibilities. So once that the plan was in place, I used ChatGPT to create a canvas and a prompt that students would use in their individual preparation. And that is actually their homework, the things they had to prepare in advance for the first lesson of the course. So first I did some work using AI, and then the students individually as their homework. And the outcome of this teacher use of AI is the preparation phase, where it was a lot of offline materials and a series of prompts designed to help the students identify and understanding a specific problem. Moving on, the students' learning activities are presented in the lower part of the framework. So in the last part, yeah, exactly. A part of their homework, they had to individually to complete what I call a problem tree. It's kind of a canvas, actually. And then they were back in class. They formed teams and collaborated on these shared problem trees or collaborated problem trees. And finally, they gave peer feedback and refined their problem statements. Overall, the first step resulted in all students, though in various degrees, of course, developed some kind of shared understanding of a common problem. So let's move on to the next slide, please. I hope or think that a lot of you are familiar with the way of thinking when you use the problem tree metaphor. In this course, the students received a blank version along with suggested key concepts to help them systematically understand the root causes and the consequences of a problem. And that's often the parts they skip, actually. So on the right, I've included an example of a simple prompt. It's a prompt for an expert bot that was used to facilitate the students' understanding of the problem. It worked in the way that it was asking Socratic questions. So it wasn't giving answers. It was asking questions once at a time, and without offering the solutions that most tools tend to give them. So moving on to the next slide, please. Last year in the 2024 course, the course consisted of 12 lessons, each lasting 90 minutes. The third and the fourth lesson guided the students to focus on this second step. If you look at the headline, it's at step 2, imagine and build. So first I consulted Google Notebook LM, a great tool in my opinion, ChatGPT and Perplexity once again, making open-ended searches for inspiration on methods for icebreakers, iteration, and how to use our makerspace. So some kind of tactile or physical involvement in some maker pedagogy was set in hand here. So when I create a structured worksheet to guide the students in their idea generation, and developed this custom GPT, a problem understanding assistant. So students were required to complete the worksheet at home as their individual homework. So this meant that when the lesson started, most of them could immediately engage in dialogue with the bot I had designed for them. And it was built around the 5 whys method, which is a classical method. You can see it on the next slide, please. So this was, of course, socially situated, and the activities were designed to foster this creativity and divergent thinking. And again, please remember, I present this story as it unfolds linear, but in such a forward-moving manner. In fact, most teams experienced setbacks, of course, and revisited earlier stages as they iterated on their work. So on this slide, you can see how both the worksheet and the adapted problem understanding assistant were prompted just for inspiration. So we're moving on. Next slide, please. Because this, yeah, the final step in the design process, and you can see this as a design process in more than one way, actually. But the final step placed a greater emphasis on business and practical, business-related aspects. The students, they had to create or prepare a pitch in which they presented the solutions and argued for the sustainability and the value in relation to the problem they worked with. At this stage, it was up to the students themselves to decide how they wanted to use AI. They were quite skilled at this point. They also determined their own homework. It was not something I ordered them to prepare in any way. In their teams, they determined their homework, and by this point, they were also aware of both the requirements and the solutions, and of course, most crucially, the deadlines. So, however, in terms of the shared pedagogical use of this chatbot in classroom teaching, I had the students experiment with AI tools like the Human Planet Impact bot that helped them analyze and refine the solutions. And there was a pitch trainer, another bot, to make them exercise their pitches even more. And then if you move to the next slide, you can see an illustration of the Demolisher, which was without doubt the most entertaining way of using AI in this program. The Demolisher is a funny, exaggerating, no-nonsense bot that takes on the role of a very critical reviewer of their ideas. And the reason why it was funny was because it told them all the things I would like to tell them, but I couldn't because I was their teacher and it would embarrass them, but the bot could. So the students also used AI-powered tools like Canva, and one student had license for Beautiful AI, and a lot of additional AI tools were actually used to create things like short video clips, and they included that in their pitches. And maybe I should note that this is not something that's endorsed by the school, but in this experiment, we used it as well. So in this talk, if you go to the last slide, I've been sharing my experience on using chatbots as learning and teaching partners. Chatbots, in my opinion, have the potential to serve as partners for both students and teachers, and maybe especially in entrepreneurship education. I have decided how the framework and materials my students and I developed earlier this winter should be tested and adjusted, but I also discovered that generative AI might support and enhance my work in many ways, both in preparing and scaffolding students' learning and in helping them explore, create, communicate, so on and so forth. But Of course, a lot of possibilities remain unexplored. AI technologies are evolving rapidly, as you know, and I hope that we can continue experimenting with them also in our entrepreneurship education. And that was all from me for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morten. I wasn't the best presentation sharing because I sometimes I was so focused on what you were sharing, so that's why I was okay.
Yeah, that was also why I wanted to control myself.
Sorry about it.
But never mind, it worked, I hope.
Thanks a lot. I'm looking at the crowd if there is any question, comments, reflections, because at the same time, it would be also good to learn from you, actually. What's your experience in teaching? Do you use AI tools in your teaching? Will you use afterwards?
Well, if I can jump in, I might have a question to ask to Morten, if it's possible, because it was everything super interesting. I have to say, I'm enthusiastic about AI, and I'm also writing my paper about it, but in different contexts. It's about the adult education content, let's say, for medical, actually. What came in my mind all the time, also when I work on my papers and also hearing about this methodology based on AI. Looking ahead, Morten, what do you see as a biggest challenge in integrating this AI-based methodology into education, broadly speaking? But I think for minors will be even more important to understand challenges. Thank you.
First, I want to say that I do a lot of teachers training as well, and that's actually what I'm working on. So it's adult training and adult teaching. That's my primary focus. And I think the challenges that lies ahead is that people think this is a fast technology. It's a technology that can outsource some of our cognitive, the things that we find difficult are solved so easily without any hesitation in this, using this kind of technology. And it gives us a lot of rubbish information. As Harari often puts it, if we don't use the time to ask correctly, we can't, whether or not we are young adults or adults, if we don't have our basic competences right, we do not know how to answer, and then we can't find the right solutions or the answers for our questions. I don't know if that was anything like what you were searching for, but I can see that my students, they try to interact too rapidly, and they're impatient.
I want to ask Morten as well.
No, go ahead. No, I was just more the reflection that more and more in line what you were saying, Morten, then also how so the educators as well as the education has more and more role in terms of increased critical thinking or how to assess the validity of the information. And also how to assess the excess of the information, because many times there is this black zone, the information what we don't know. And especially it applies also to media literacy, right? Like you think that you are informed by social media, but at the same time, many of the things like your news reality is completely different than others. So I think, yeah. So go ahead, Joanna.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Morten, because I really loved how you use the tools, as you said, not to replace or outsource students' thinking. And I wondered how much skill does it require to write your own chatbot? Like if I were an educator and wanted to do something like that, what do I have to know and where do I start?
Oh, it definitely depends on what kind of chatbot you want to make, but the custom GPTs that I mostly make for my students are relatively easy to make because I can, if I play the role of the very naive or very as a beginner, you have a beginner's mind, and you just ask your chatbot, how could I make a prompt for this? And then you elaborate over and over again. Then in just 10 minutes, you will have a prototype that is quite functionable. Because if you try to do it yourself, so to speak, without the help of any tools that's designed for it, it's often, in my experience, people forget that the bot does not know your context. So you have to be asked about your context, and the bot is really good at that. So playing naive, have a beginner's mind would be my suggestion. So even young students without any knowledge can make a great bot.
I like what you said because I remember that it was a discovery for me that actually you can work with a bot in a little bit a different way. Like we're asking it things, but it can actually ask you things, and then you start from there and potentially have really, really great results. So yeah, thank you for that answer.
I always end my prompts with, what do you need to make this task? So what do you need additional information? What do you need from me to be able to complete what I asked you to do? And that's a very valuable way of ending your prompts often.
Oh, I need to write this down. Maybe you should create a vocabulary, Morten.
I think there are plenty of those out there.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see many questions. It's just more a reflection that I enjoyed so much for the preparation, during the preparation, and get to know a bit better your work, Morten. And I'm super grateful for J. Denmark, Pernille, and her team to make the connection with you. So thanks a lot.
Same here, and thank you also to our wonderful audience who devoted their time to listen to us. We hope you got the most out of our webinar. And I have one more question to you, actually.
Oh yeah,
Let me go back to our mentee. I actually wanted to ask the same to Morten, but we can have a bigger audience. Remember mentee.com 36115787 is the code. What skill do you think will be the most important for your students to develop in an AI powered world? And the question goes to, I think, the human touch that we also discussed earlier. We have the first responses: critical thinking, digital literacy, AI basics. Yes, that's so skills, critical thinking, creativity, resilience. Oh, it's a nice one. Curiosity, I like that one. And fundamental knowledge, I guess not only in how to use AI, but also in a broader sense of the world. Good. Thank you very much. By myself, would agree with most of the crowd. I think with the critical thinking and being able to yes, to work with the tool and use it so that not to lose the sight of what we're using and how we're using it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Anna, do you want to say something to
Yes,
the crowd?
absolutely. Yes. I think it's time to wrap up. And I also want to thank you. I want to thank you very much, Emma, Joanna, and Morten, for sharing your insight, expertise, great expertise, and cover this journey of impact of AI on education, the role of mentors and teachers, and the strategy that we saw with you today. So it's really the time to wrap up today's session and to make sure to do it in a great way. I want to invite you to stay connected with more exciting webinars in the upcoming week. Our next one, it will be actually the last session of this webinar series, and it's coming up the 4th of March from 1 to 2 p.m. And the title is Beyond Code, Empowering Generation of Innovators. And of course, we look forward to see you there. If you want to, the link for registration is already available in the chat. You can also have a look and stay tuned on the Code Week social networks to know more details about the upcoming webinar and register for the sessions, of course. So I think it's time to greet each other. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you again to my great speakers of today's session. And we look forward to see you next time. So have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.